Anne was a beautiful young girl with a heart full of dreams. She was an orphan and lived in a poor home, but she never let her situation define her. Anne was in senior secondary school, and despite the challenges she faced, she remained focused on her education. One thing about Anne that stood out, apart from her striking beauty, was her strong principles. She had made a firm decision to keep herself pure until marriage. She believed that by doing so, her future husband would value, respect, and treat her like a queen. No matter how many boys admired her or tried to win her heart, she remained focused on her studies, determined to succeed and build a bright future for herself. Anne's best friend was Judith. Wherever you saw Anne, you would see Judith. They sat together in class, studied together, and shared their thoughts and dreams. They were so close that many students even thought they were sisters. They watched each other's backs, supported one another, and laughed together. Many times, Anne would tell Judith, "I will never allow any boy to distract me. My virginity is my pride, and I will protect it with my life. I want to marry a man who will truly love and respect me. These boys in our school, I can never fall for any of them. I will focus on my studies and graduate with flying colors. No boy will destroy my future." Judith admired Anne's strong will and always encouraged her. "My friend, you are doing the right thing," she would say. "If only our landlord hadn't taken mine forcefully and denied it before my parents, I would still be a virgin today. I really envy you, Anne. Please, keep holding on to your dreams. One day, a man who truly values you will marry you." In school, Anne was the center of admiration. The boys talked about her all the time, amazed at how reserved and content she was. They would challenge each other, saying, "You can't get Anne. She won't even look at you. No matter how hard you try, she won't pay you any attention." Anne, however, didn't care about what they said. She had a goal, and nothing was going to distract her. But little did Anne know that life had its own plans. Challenges and temptations were coming her way, ones that would put her principles to the test. Anne's life took a tragic turn one fateful afternoon. At school, a group of notorious boys held a secret meeting. They were furious that Anne had rejected many of them. They felt humiliated and insulted by her constant refusal. "Who does she think she is?" one of them sneered. "She acts like she's better than us, like we're not real men." Another boy pounded his fist on the table. "We need to teach her a lesson she'll never forget." They all nodded in agreement. "Yes, let's humble her. Let's make sure she never looks down on any of us again," another added. After much discussion, they came up with a wicked plan. They knew that Anne always took a lonely bush path home from school. They decided to wait for her there and carry out their evil deed. The next day, as Anne walked home, unaware of the danger ahead, the boys jumped out from their hiding place. Before she could scream, they grabbed her, dragged her into the bushes, and did the unthinkable. Anne was left broken, shattered, and humiliated. The thing she cherished most, the purity she had vowed to protect, was stolen from her in the cruelest way possible. With tears streaming down her face, she staggered home, feeling as if her entire world had collapsed. She locked herself in her room and cried bitterly. The pain was unbearable. She felt lost, empty, and completely destroyed. That evening, Judith came to visit and was shocked to find Anne crying uncontrollably. She rushed to her side, held her close, and tried to comfort her. "Anne, my friend, what happened? Why are you crying like this?" Anne, through her sobs, narrated everything that had happened. Judith's eyes darkened with anger. She felt deep pity for her best friend. "Anne, stop crying," Judith said firmly. "Enough of these tears. Now is the time for revenge." Anne looked at her, confused. "Revenge? How? These boys are dangerous, Judith. I can't do anything to them. I'm helpless." Judith suddenly let out a strange laugh. Anne stared at her, shocked. "Judith, why are you laughing? Are you mocking my pain?" Judith shook her head. "No, my dear friend. I would never mock you, but there's something I have never told you." Anne wiped her tears and looked at Judith with curiosity. "What do you mean?" Judith leaned closer and whispered, "All these years that we have been friends, you never knew that I belonged to a powerful witchcraft kingdom. No human being on this earth can harm me. I have powers beyond what you can imagine." Anne gasped, stepping back in fear. "Judith, what are you saying?" Judith's eyes gleamed in the dim light. "I will take you to our coven tonight. You will be initiated and given great powers. Then you can take your revenge on those wicked boys. You will make them suffer for what they did to you." Anne hesitated. The thought of joining a dark world terrified her. But then she remembered the pain, the humiliation, and the way those boys had laughed while destroying her life. A deep hatred burned within her. She clenched her fists and looked at Judith. "I don't care anymore. My life is already ruined. If joining your coven is the only way to make them pay, then I am ready." Judith smiled darkly. "Good, tonight we begin." As night fell, Anne followed Judith into the unknown, unaware that she was about to step into a world of darkness, power, and a revenge that would change everything. That night, Judith led Anne deep into the forest, where their secret coven was hidden from the eyes of ordinary people. The place was dark, surrounded by tall trees and filled with eerie whispers. A group of witches stood in a circle, their eyes glowing in the darkness. As Anne stepped forward, a chilling wind blew around her, sending shivers down her spine. The head witch spoke in a deep voice. "Anne, you have suffered a great injustice. Those who hurt you must pay. Tonight, you will receive the power to take your revenge." The witches began to chant, their voices echoing through the night. Anne felt an overwhelming energy fill her body. Her eyes burned with a strange light, and she felt stronger than she had ever felt before. The witches placed their hands on her head and declared, "You are now one of us. Go forth and take your revenge. We are solidly behind you." From that moment, Anne was no longer the helpless girl who had cried herself to sleep. She was now powerful, fearless, and ready to make her enemies pay. Days later, the notorious boys who had destroyed Anne's life gathered in the forest once again. This time, they were planning to harm another innocent student. They laughed and bragged about how no one could stop them. But suddenly, a strong wind blew through the trees, and a strange light appeared in their midst. Anne stood before them. But she was not the same Anne they had once overpowered. She was different. Her eyes glowed like fire, and her entire body radiated with an eerie light. The boys froze in fear. Is that Anne?" one of them stammered, his voice shaking. Before they could react, Anne lifted her hand and struck the ground. Immediately, rays of lightning shot out from her eyes, hitting each of them. They screamed in terror as their own eyes began to glow, filling with blinding light. They fell to the ground, pleading for mercy. "Anne, please, forgive us. Spare our lives," they cried. Anne stepped closer, her voice echoing with power. "If you want to live, then you must confess your crimes. Go to the school authorities and tell them what you did to me. Only then will I spare your lives." The boys had no choice. Anne released them, and they ran as fast as their legs could carry them, straight to the school office. When they arrived, they fell to their knees and confessed everything. They admitted to their terrible crime against Anne and begged for forgiveness. The school authorities were shocked and furious. They wasted no time in expelling the boys from school. But that was not all. The case was taken to the police, and the boys were arrested and sentenced to years in prison. Justice had been served. After completing her secondary school, Anne moved on with her life. She met a handsome and kind-hearted man named Peter. They fell deeply in love, and when Peter proposed, Anne knew she had found the man she had always dreamed of. However, before their wedding, Anne felt she needed to tell Peter the truth about her past. She sat him down and revealed everything: how she had been hurt, how she had joined the witches, and how she had taken her revenge. Peter listened carefully. When Anne finished, she looked at him, afraid of what he might say. But Peter gently held her hands and said, "Anne, you have been through so much, but vengeance is not ours to take. It belongs to God. You don't need the witches anymore. Let me take you to my pastor. He will help you find true peace." Anne agreed. Peter took her to his church, where a powerful man of God prayed for her. The witches tried to hold on to her soul, but the power of God was greater. After intense prayers, Anne was completely delivered from the witchcraft kingdom. She was free at last. Shortly after, Peter and Anne got married in a beautiful ceremony. Their love was pure and strong. Peter cherished Anne with all his heart and never joked about her happiness. Soon after their wedding, Peter and Anne relocated to the United States, where they built a happy and peaceful life together. Every day, Anne thanked God for wiping away her tears and giving her a loving husband who truly valued her. Moral lessons from Anne's story. 1. Revenge is never the best answer. It may seem satisfying at first, but true justice comes from God. 2. Bad company can lead you into darkness. Be careful who you listen to during your difficult times. 3. There is always hope for a new beginning. No matter how broken your past is, you can still find love, happiness, and peace. 4. God's power is greater than any other power. No matter what dark path you may have taken, He can always deliver you. Thank you all for watching and following Anne's story. I hope this story has inspired and touched you in some way. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more powerful and life-changing stories. Stay blessed, and see you in the next story.